Hello everyone and welcome to Theme Park Worldwide, where today I'm back here in Blackpool at Pleasure Beach Resorts for a behind the scenes tour. Now over the years, Pleasure Beach have offered various different behind the scenes experiences, from walking up lift hills on rides, including the big one, the wooden coasters, to going underneath different attractions, walking around dark rides. Pleasure Beach have always been fantastic when it comes to offering these different experiences and at various different price points as well. You may remember earlier in the year, I did a £250 behind the scenes tour on Valhalla. A huge amount of money to spend, but you know what? It was worth every single penny, getting a full in-depth tour of that ride. I absolutely loved it. Today's tour is priced at £55 for 3 hours, and with this, it's a bit of a mystery as to what you actually get on it. There's some staple bits that I think are going to be in it every time, but it can change depending on when you do this tour. Obviously, Pleasure Beach is closed when these are happening. There's maintenance happening at the moment. There's construction on Evictus as well, so it can vary each and every time they do offer these tours. I've actually just come out from mine today and was allowed to take photos and videos throughout 90% of the tour, so I'm going to talk about it, put some clips in that I've filmed, and share my experience from this absolutely brilliant behind the scenes tour of one of my favourite parks out there. Pleasure Beach is one of the most historic amusement parks out there, really blending the old attractions with the new thrills as well. I think that's something that's always kept Pleasure Beach really special and very close to my heart. I've been visiting for a long time, ever since I was a child, and I've just always loved the vibes and the feel of Pleasure Beach. And yes, so much has changed over the years. It's got to develop over the years and to keep it relevant, but also it's kept them historic rides and experiences that we know and love. So the experience started just outside the park, where we all met just by the main entrance to Pleasure Beach, where you've got the Noah's Ark structure, and then we made our way through the side gate and up into Loki's Bar and Restaurant that's open throughout the season. Really nice food in there, and that's located just to the left of Valhalla and also Launchpad as well. We were in there for about 15 minutes where we had a safety briefing, just read through some terms and conditions about what you can and can't do. Basically just, safety protocols that the park have to tell you and you have to sign for, just to make sure that everyone is doing what they should be when you're going on a tour like this. For Pleasure Beach to offer tours like this, of course, requires probably a lot of paperwork and things behind the scenes, so you just have to sign to say that you agree with all that, basically, and that you're not going to mess around, because at the end of the day, these are working rides, these are machinery, and there's a lot of work happening around the park anyway at the moment in terms of maintenance and construction. These do take place on closed days. It's like, look at Blackpool today, it is deserted around here, and that's the thing, it's the time when Pleasure Beach is probably most active, doing work, doing construction, not just on the new ride for next year, Evictus, but just in general around the park. So we had like a safety briefing from the head of operations, Andy Highgate. You've probably seen him in videos before on the channel. Really nice guy, a fellow enthusiast as well that travels to theme parks on a regular basis. So he's got a lot of industry knowledge. I think it's fantastic how he's always here for these tours, giving you that information. And then he started off by giving us a brief history of Blackpool Pleasure Beach, of course dating all the way back to 1896, a historic park that next year is going to be celebrating its 130th season. What a year to be opening a new ride, so that's really exciting. So we started off there with having the briefing with Andy and introducing the rest of the team, some of the operations managers and from other departments that had come down to be part of the tour. And we then made our way out of Loki's and into the main part of the park itself, where we started off with a look at the oldest attraction here at Pleasure Beach, dating back to 1904, the iconic flying machines. I absolutely love this attraction. It's a must ride here at Pleasure Beach. It really is a fantastic attraction and the only one of its kind now still operating in the world. There used to be more of them out there, but no, this one here in Pleasure Beach is still standing strong, and you know what, it is a great ride from 1904. So just to the left of the main entrance, where you go up the steps to the ride platform, you've actually got a little door, and that leads underneath the ride. We was in there for about 10 minutes. Andy explained a lot of history about the attraction, and yeah, got lots of different clips from in there as well.
The original one was down at Earl's Court in London, and if you look it up online you can find some really cool pictures of it, because the cars were a different shape. They weren't rocket shaped and they weren't boat shaped like these were originally. They were actually shaped like fish, and they were enclosed and people rode inside them. And it was also slightly more compact looking. It didn't quite have the same diameter. This ride is run by 2 electric motors, although you might notice today that one of them is actually there's some work being done on this side. So the ride, if you went on it at the weekend, it's not that noticeable, but there is a difference because we can run this ride off one motor, off one side, a bit like on an airplane when you run it off one engine or whatever. And this side is lifted up at the moment and won't turn when we run the ride. Just want to, if we get them to run it, what you'll notice is it suddenly becomes a lot more noisy in here. So you've got these 2 motors driving those over there, which in turn drive this huge and lovely Victorian style drive wheel here, connecting to the centre, and it's a bit difficult on this side, but we will go around the other side in a minute because there's a really nice little photo point on there as well. It won't be as noisy today. There are no brakes on the ride, so basically once the ride cycle is completed, then the power is up the ride, and then the rocket ships will return their parking. If you think about it, you don't want to ride too much of colours at all, particularly as the ride as it stands at the moment.
Amazing to come and see all this close up in here. And yeah, a lot of people may not realise that it's got the 2 motors on there as well.
The ride would go through the normal ride cycle, okay, and then end. Whereas back in the day, you could actually control the speed of the ride. You can imagine that, what I'm saying about having no brakes on the ride and so on. You could actually speed it up and slow it down. In fact, the original controller, which is very much like what you would find bizarrely on one of the Blackpool trams, is just around the corner as well, and I'll point it out to you as we go back through.
You don't want to do
So what's interesting, you see that cog there, going at the main one. Obviously, if there was a problem with that during the season, then what we don't want to do is for the ride to be down for like 3 months while you go and get a new car manufactured. So Pleasure Beach actually holds a huge number of spare parts in a massive warehouse, including bits which you wouldn't necessarily expect. So we do actually have spare of some of those giant hubs, and it's actually the same on the Derby Racer, which you'll probably see a little bit more of in a second.
I tell you what, until you're standing underneath flying machines, you don't realise just how noisy the motor is, and fascinating as well how you've got the 2 just there. Obviously one's being worked out at the moment. Well, that doesn't mean they need to close the ride. They can run it on the other one, which I think is fascinating. I do love how it was all designed like that. The throughput on there is brilliant too. Andy was telling us a lot of history about kind of the changes that have been made over the years, and yeah, just the overall workings of such an old attraction like that. It's still going strong to this day, and it's just fascinating, isn't it, how that ride was designed by the same person who designed the machine gun. I mean, there were different times back then, weren't there? But yeah, fantastic backstory into the flying machines. After that, we then made our way just across over to another one of my favourites. This opened in 1959 at the Pleasure Beach, and that is the Derby Racer. Now, I've done this before a few years ago on one of the fan club events, but it was great to do it again. We went underneath the ride, so right down there at the back, they got a little door, again, like a secret passage. There's so many secret passages in Pleasure Beach, where we went underneath the Derby Racer platform itself, where we got to see all the workings. That was really fascinating to see again. Got quite a few different clips here. We did a full walk around the underneath just there. That was fantastic. If you do want to see a bit more of an in-depth look at Derby Racer, we did a separate video for that a couple of years ago as part of the fan club event, so make sure you check that out if you haven't already here on the channel. We've got all sorts of different separate videos of things, so I will reference them throughout. Make sure you check them out. But yeah, 1959, that's been operating since. There's only 3 left in the world. We've been lucky enough to do all of them. The other 2, there's one at Playland, which is located in New York in the States, and then of course over at Cedar Point as well, Cedar Downs, that they've got just there. So yeah, it was good to get back underneath it, really get to appreciate the workings of what goes into that ride. Unfortunately, for a number of years now, the horses haven't gone back and forwards. They were basically saying it's just so complex to ever bring that back up, which is unfortunate, but understandable when you see underneath and just how much work goes into that. Now, something else that Pleasure Beach kind of do on the side, separate from the park, are Stageworks Worldwide Productions. It's its own company. Not only do they look after Hot Ice here, which is the big ice show each year, along with that, they also run various other different things throughout the year at Pleasure Beach and for other parks as well, where they actually design and produce costumes. Now, we were told at the start in the briefing we were going to be able to film and take photos of most things. This was one of the things, however, that we couldn't take any photos and videos of, but I can tell you about what we saw. Basically, Stageworks is located in the half of the Valhalla building off to the right hand side. If you saw the Valhalla behind the scenes tour, if you haven't, make sure you check it out. You'll know that you've got the drops and some of the other scenes in a separate building off to the right. You've got all the big themed rock work facade on the left, but off to the right, then that is actually all part of Valhalla as well, and various different offices, the costume, Stageworks and the wardrobe department. Never been in there before and seen it, and I tell you what, it was absolutely fantastic. One of the highlights of the tour, especially loving theatre productions and shows. We got to see the area where they make all the costumes, literally a room filled with thousands and thousands of costumes, old props, old like lighting that they used to have, like headgear and things like that, light up outfits. We got to see where they keep all the lighting for Hot Ice as well, that's also used for other different things. They have like a dinner show and things over Christmas. They've got a pantomime as well that Stageworks run, so we got to kind of see all of that. That was fascinating, and really enjoyed it. Being a big fan of Hot Ice, which is 90 next year, its 90th show in the arena here, that was purpose built as an ice skating rink for shows. I thought that was brilliant. So we couldn't take any photos and videos in there, but that was a real highlight of the tour, getting to see inside Stageworks. And it really makes you appreciate how much time and effort goes into making all the costumes. We actually got to meet a lovely lady that hand makes all the costumes, all the feathers, puts like all the little jewels and crystals on there. So that was brilliant, really enjoyed that. And if you've never seen Hot Ice before, it is definitely worth seeing. It runs throughout the summer period, normally from kind of like early July through to early September, and it's a spectacular production. I would definitely recommend it. But yeah, we was in there for about half an hour. We got to see all the costumes, walk through the different workshops. You don't realise how much they've got in there. They also do a lot of work for other theme parks, including Europa Park in Germany, one of our favourite parks out there. We've visited there many times, and we're back there in a few weeks actually, which is going to be great. But yeah, they do a lot of work for Europa Park. They've got their ice show there as well, and just generally making things for other theme parks and attractions. So after that, we then made our way over to a Pleasure Beach classic dark ride, Alice in Wonderland. And we started off by having a look in the maintenance shed. This was quite cool to see. If you've seen the old Pleasure Beach documentary that was filmed back in the 90s, there was a real famous clip just outside there with the old operations manager, Jim Rowland, and they were there like, get it open. It always makes me laugh. So seeing that up there quite close and getting to go in the maintenance shed was good fun. Also filmed a couple of clips as we were going in there as well. So yeah, I'll show you those now.
Seats and stuff like that. It's just the way it goes. If the next car is for 3 people, you'll have a family of 4 in the queue line and so on. So that's why we kind of cut that back a bit. They can also lift these up using that, so you can see the underside of it, so they can do the work on it as well. If you ever get evac from this ride, then one of the places you might come out from is through there. Because the way that they clear the ride comes to a central point, and then out of the ride in that way.
Yeah, they're organised, that will charge you. We're going to the workshop just for the next one.
I love that flame car, the electrical works there as well. You sure you like it?
It's always awesome seeing inside maintenance areas, especially for roller coasters and dark rides too. So I did enjoy seeing that. I actually had a couple of the Cheshire Cats in there as well, that we could see up close. And obviously they were being worked on with the park being closed today. So yeah, that was fantastic. We then made our way into the ride itself, where we got to walk through some of the scenes. I know they did a fan club event a few years ago where they did walk around the whole ride. We weren't here for that, unfortunately. So it was really cool actually getting to have a walk around around part of Alice in Wonderland, and you can see some of the clips just here. Got to have a few photos in there, which was really cool, and just walking around and getting to appreciate the size of some of the set pieces in there. When you're on Alice in Wonderland and going around the ride, it moves quite fast, doesn't it? So it was nice just to have a bit more time to take it in and appreciate it. We got up some of the steps there. I walked quite a bit of the track, which was awesome, through some of the scenes. Also got to have a photo with Humpty Dumpty himself as well, who falls off the wall as part of the ride. Yeah, I did enjoy getting to have that photo there and just walk through that area. Yeah, fantastic. Something that you also don't realise until you do one of these tours at Pleasure Beach is just how many different corridors and tunnels they've got, different areas that connect into different parts of the park. And that was certainly true with this next part of the tour, because we walked through part of Alice in Wonderland, not all of it, just through part of it, but then we connected straight through into the maintenance building for the Grand National. You just wouldn't think it when you're going around the dark ride on Alice in Wonderland, that there's doors that just lead everywhere. A door that leads straight through into that maintenance bay for the Grand National. First time going in there, and it was brilliant to see it. They'd actually moved a train in specially for us, which was great. They said, like, literally they've brought it in just so we can have a close-up look at it. So that was fantastic, and really nice to get some photos, an up-close look at the maintenance bay, the transfer track area for the Grand National. Now, it has been running since it reopened this year. Hasn't it been running 2 out of 4 trains? I did ask the question, because, you know, they were saying throughout we're open to questions, so I did ask Andy and said, you know, are we going to see it run 4 trains again at some point in the future? And basically the answer was it can still run 4 trains if they want to, but to be honest, in terms of a throughput point of view, it doesn't really affect the hourly capacity that much. If you remember when it was running 4 trains on there, because it's a Mobius coaster obviously, so it's not 2 separate tracks, 2 on each side, it's a Mobius, so it'll either be running 2 trains or 4 on there. I'd never just run like 1 or 3, if that makes sense. He said that basically it doesn't make that much of a difference to the throughput, which I found quite interesting. But then I look back and think about it in terms of, you know, how operationally it is when it is running 4 trains, and you would be sat there for quite a while still in the station before they'd dispatch the train. So maybe, you know, now you're not sat there that long. As soon as they're checked, they're ready to go and dispatch. So apparently it doesn't make that much of a difference to the hourly throughput. So yeah, we'll see what happens in the future. So certainly not rolling out running it on 4 trains again, but as it stands at the moment, it's running on 2, and they seem to be quite happy with that, and it's not really affecting the throughput that much, because most of the time the trains would just be staying parked in the station. So interesting one, that. And that's the thing with all the rides though as well, they take longer to kind of load up, and you've got seat belts and a lap bar on there. So yeah, that was quite an interesting one. It was good to ask the question. So we then got to walk through the operator cabin for the Grand National, so that was quite cool to see. Again, something very different, very tight in there, very old and historic, so it was good to see it all. And I just find it really fascinating how you've got all these different stories from the different operators and the teams here at Pleasure Beach. It was nice because there was quite a few different staff that work these rides on a day-to-day basis that were with us. You know, if you've got any questions, it's very kind of informal, very casual when you're doing these tours here. It's very personal, which I do really like. It's not like, you know, you just have to be quiet and everything like that. You can ask questions all the way through. It's really nice. Everyone respects each other, and that's what I love about these tours at Pleasure Beach. It just feels very personal and just really enjoyable. So yeah, that was great there, just getting to chat with the staff and some of the management here that are running these rides on a daily basis. And I just like how they don't really shy away from things. You know, we're very much used to that in the UK theme park industry, especially at the Merlin Parks, Alton Towers, Thorpe Park. Just getting to ask questions and have an actual proper answer, I thought was really nice. Now, we also got a nice little exclusive on this tour that we weren't expecting. That was a little sneak peek at the Evictus construction sites. Basically, because the park's closed, some of the construction walls that are surrounding the area have been took down so they can get access in and out of the site. So we literally walked up the ramp and we got a view looking straight in. So yeah, got a couple of photos and shots just here. So that was quite cool. Not like officially part of the tour, but just to get that sneak peek looking in. They said we can, you know, take some photos and look in there, which was really nice. I mean, we've got quite a few different updates now on the channel about the construction of this new intermin gyro swing, but it was cool just to see the fence down there and have a little peek into the construction site. But a little bit more about Evictus later on, because there's been a bit of a special delivery that I'll talk about later on in this video. So we then made our way towards Infusion for a walk around the ride area, where we did also get some fantastic views of Big Dipper and the Pleasure Beach Express. So it was more like around the Pleasure Beach Express ride area that we were walking. That was cool. I also asked the question about the water, because it's not been filled up for a while now underneath Infusion. I asked, is that going to make a return? And was told it will come back at some point in the future. They have got the reasons why there's no water in there at the moment. But yeah, it will definitely be coming back in the future, so that's good. I also asked about the Ocean Boulevard buildings here, because obviously these are planned to be turned into like holiday accommodation. It's all owned by the Pleasure Beach. You've got the 2 hotels, the Boulevard and the Big Blue down there. But then yeah, you've got the buildings out the front here. They applied for permission to turn these into holiday accommodation. I just asked, you know, is that still going to be going ahead at some point in the near future? And it definitely is. Like, all the permissions been granted. They said that they had a few issues, but it took some time to get that sorted. So yeah, I just thought, you know, they're always saying, oh, I ask you questions. So I thought, why not? Let's go ahead, and yeah, getting a nice proper answer was fantastic. We then made our way round into the maintenance shed for Infusion. As you may know, it's my favourite coaster at the park. No, I'm not an Infusion fan. I'm not a Vekoma SLC fan at all. You know, they're a very generic ride type. I much prefer a more unique experience. But still, I know that a lot of the general public still enjoy it. Getting to go in the maintenance shed for Infusion, though, was really cool. That wasn't something that I was really expecting, so that was nice to go in there. The second train had just been removed yesterday, so we didn't get a chance to like have a close-up look in the train in there. But in a way, it was kind of better because we got a close-up look at the train in the station. In the maintenance bay was empty, so we got to have a good proper look at the transfer track and that whole area. That was awesome. Yeah, I really enjoyed having a look in there. When we came out, you got some great views looking back at Big Dipper, including the historic Dipper sign, and along with that too, you got some excellent views looking at Icon from a bit of a different angle, and that was fantastic. We then kind of walked around the edge of the water for Infusion and got a brilliant view of the first drop on the big ones. Yeah, they'll put some shots in there for you. That was nice. To right in the corner up against the concrete, and you can just get that excellent view looking down at the drop just there. That was fantastic, and looking all the way up to the top of the iconic lift hill for the big one. We then had a little mooch around the station, got some close-up looks at the wheels and that sort of thing. And then we made our way out of the exit, and they were like, do you want to climb it? And I was like, yes, certainly. So yeah, for £55, got all this and even got a lift climb in there. Now, it can vary every time. They said normally they walk you up Revolution, the other side, where you don't normally step out the train before you go backwards. But because they're actually taking the train off on Revolution at the moment, that's some news for you. It is going to be closed now for the rest of the season. They're having like an extended maintenance period on there this year. So yeah, it will be closed Revolution now for the remainder of the season. The next 3 weekends that the park's open, so bear that in mind. We did see them lifting the train off. That was cool. I didn't get any shots of it because it was in the distance, but yeah, like you may have noticed in some of these shots, the crane's over there now and they're literally lifting that train off. But yeah, that was cool, getting to see that. But yeah, so as a kind of replacement, because we couldn't go over to Revolution, we got to walk up the lift hill of Infusion at over 100 foot. It was optional. Obviously some people, you know, didn't want to do it because of the height, which is perfectly understandable, and it is high up there. It might not look it from here, because you look at the big one, even the first kind of hill for the big one towers right over it, but still it's over 100 foot there, and we did get to walk up, so I got some footage. We didn't need to be clipped on or anything because it's got high bars on each side, but what's quite cool is we were like the first people to do that other than people that have been evacuated on there, because they have a platform that rises up and then they can evac people if they need to. They were saying that's probably one of the most trickiest evacuations that they have to do on the ride. Luckily it doesn't happen very often, on average about once a season, which isn't too bad. But yeah, they were saying how basically, you know, you've got to step out and trust that the platform is there for them to step out onto. Obviously it always is, but when you sat back in the seat you can't see the platform, so I thought that was quite interesting. But yeah, we got to walk up there. We could only take photos and videos halfway. That wasn't from a safety point of view. They just didn't want us getting loads of photos and the shots of the Invictus construction site, because the view from up there was excellent. But still, still, as you know, you can see it from down on the ground outside the park. But yeah, they wanted to save that aerial view and keep it for, they're actually getting some drone shots themselves today, so I presume they'll be coming up in a future official update from the park. But yeah, understandable, and everybody complied. Yeah, as soon as they're saying put your phones and cameras away, everybody did. It was only that and stage works that we couldn't film and take photos of, so that was fantastic. Really enjoyed getting to walk up there higher than you'd expect, and yeah, we got some great views looking out all the way down the promenade. Similar view really to, you know, what you get when you're on the ride, but not only did we go up to like the lift hill height, we went on the top where the lift motor is. Again, couldn't take any photos around here because they didn't want us showing evict us from there, but yeah, that was really cool up there. We was up there for about 10 minutes. Again, we got the chance to ask lots of questions, get the answers to that. That was brilliant. In 2018, Blackpool Pleasure Beach opened one of my favourite rides in the country, Icon, and Mack Ride's double launch coaster. It's an excellent ride, it really is, and getting to go behind the scenes on Icon as part of this tour was absolutely fantastic. Now, Andy did give us quite a backstory actually into Icon, how they fit it into the park, and also as well about some of the other designs that were planned for Icon as well, because there certainly was lots of different plans for that coaster. He spoke with 3 different manufacturers, and Andy's done quite a fantastic talk here, so I did film it. I'm going to put that in for you now so you can hear it from him himself. But yeah, this was brilliant, really insightful.
That's a computer scan of the south area of the park. So we're on South Park at the moment. The divide in between North and South Park is Watson Road, all right? They did that because one of the issues that we have is that we're pressurised for space. We're 42 acres, we're obviously heavily developed already. So when you're trying to put a coaster of, you know, like 5,000 feet into a park like ours, it's actually quite difficult to do unless you really know your information. Previously here there was a boating lake, and you may remember if you used to visit the park years ago, there used to be a big bridge called Tom Sawyer's Bridge that used to go across where we are now, and over the years it had rides like Spin Doctor situated next to it, and so on, and there were some buggies just literally over there, and then on top of the mound there was the Turtle Chase ride that I mentioned before, and so on. So we identified this as being an area where we thought we could have a coaster. And then what you do in those situations is you go out to manufacturers. There aren't actually that many manufacturers. There are more than there used to be. And you approach those that you've either got a relationship. In the theme park industry, a lot of stuff is based on relationships and friendships and so on. And you ask them for a proposal and you say what you want. And at that time we knew that we wanted a double launch roller coaster. We certainly knew we wanted a launch coaster. That double launch coasters was suddenly coming into being a thing and a possibility. And we knew that no one else in the UK had one at the time, which was a good point for us. So we went out to 3 manufacturers. They all propose very much in a way that if you're used to playing like these simulation games online and so on, like things like No Limits and whatever, they produce like an upscale version of that, and you can at that point you can literally start tweaking about, you know, Nick particularly had asked for certain elements to be in the ride. So the turnover, the Big Dipper, with the illusion of, it doesn't happen very often, but if it does happen, it's a really cool moment when the 2 trains, the Big Dipper train and the Icon train, like interact with each other. And you get the illusion that you could slap hands with the riders on the other train. That was something that Nick really wanted in the ride, and so that's why that element was included. And so we looked at a whole range of different options. One of the there was one version where there was a massive top hat element where we're stood now at this end of the park. And then one of the key sort of things was using the being able to pass through the existing gap in the Big One structure, which was never built to have a roller coaster cut through it, and that opened up the whole area down by Steeplechase. So we were able to have a much longer coaster if we were able to get the track plus the trains plus the safety envelope to pass through that existing gap twice. And when they figured out that was a possibility, that sort of opened it all up a bit. Anyway, we then ended up choosing Mack And again, I talk about relationships. Mac's a family business that operates an amusement park. We're a family business that operates an amusement park. We've got a good friendship with them. We've got other Mac rides, and Avalanche I mentioned right at the start of this. But we have their prototype ride for the first water teacups, which is the SpongeBob ride as well. So we had an established relationship with them. And then one of the sort of key deciding factors with this ride was actually all to do with the trains. And that we really liked the trains that they were producing, the look of them, the feel of them, and the fact that they were so comfortable was sort of one of the, sometimes it comes down to things that you wouldn't necessarily expect, why you decide to go with a particular model or manufacturing. In this case, the trains was a massive factor. And so we went ahead and did that. So the design element, very much in terms of the look of Icon and the colours used and so on, was very much to do with in-house and Amanda Thompson and what she wanted from the ride. And the look that you get on here with the trains came from Amanda and came from some wallpaper that she had. And if you don't believe me, you can look in coasters and you'll see the wallpaper that looks the same. So that was the inspiration for the look of the trains on this particular ride. Okay, so so we went ahead and built the ride. We did it over a 2-year period. We did the foundations one winter. Again, it's quite difficult, as you can see, it's quite difficult to have a building site on this scale and be able to operate the park at the same time. With a Victus, it's obviously much more contained, as you've just seen, so it's much easier for us to do that. So we did the foundations one winter, and then we did the rest of the ride install the following winter, followed by commissioning and so on. What's really cool about this ride is it's so easy for us to put trains on and off. This is traditional in the style that the trains in the back, which you'll see in a second, are stacked horizontally, whereas again in the past we have experience of having trains stacked vertically for maintenance bays, like on the big one, and actually on another Mac ride on Avalanche is like that as well. But here we have the space to be able to do it. And if you've ever been in here when we put trains on or off, you'll see that the whole thing moves over. So all of that side, all the luggage storage, all of that's a bit James Bond moment. Everything shifts over to get this piece of track underneath the train here in line with the 2 pieces of track that we've got in the maintenance bay where we can hold trains. And we've got 3 trains in total. I'm not quite sure what you're going to see in the back, because I know one train has been worked on, so you might see, but obviously I've said, as I mentioned earlier, we like to have 2 trains on this ride for maximum availability for guests. So we should have 2 for the remainder of the season on here. Okay.
How about that? Really interesting, just learning about the ride and some bits that I didn't know in there as well that I thought was fantastic. Just to hear all the different information, different manufacturers that were thought about, and also as well the fact that they managed to fit it into the site that they did. A lot of people always say to me, Sean, why do you love Icon so much? It really is the interaction between the other rides that makes it. Going through the big one structure, it's interesting how that whole section originally wasn't planned all down by Steeplechase. It was just going to be on the old Tom Sawyer Bridge site, but no, they expanded it, managed to get it through the big one, and thought, let's go all down the bottom there. So there was all sorts of different plans and concepts for Icon. I'm just so pleased he went with Mac and went with the design that they did. And the thing that swung them the most was the fact that the trains for Mac looked the best, and that's why they went with them. One of my other favourite stories was that Amanda Thompson, obviously the director at the park, actually wanted to have the same design on some of the wallpaper that's now in the Coasters restaurant next door on the train. So that inspired the design of the Zero car. The front of Icon was some wallpaper that they had that she saw and really wanted it, and then bought the wallpaper, bought the coaster, then bought the wallpaper and put it in Coasters. That was another huge highlight, going behind the scenes on Icon. I love the coaster so much, and it was great just learning a bit more about its history and all the different concepts for it as well. After that point, we made our way into the Icon maintenance bay. Again, this is somewhere that I'd never been before, and so it was very nice to go in there. We didn't have to wear a little cap, so I had my little hat on as we made our way in there. So yeah, I looked quite glamorous, not with my hat on, but that was just for safety, just in case anything like leaked down, any oil or knocked our heads or anything like that. So yeah, it was all like padded and everything inside. A little bit different, because normally you wear like a hard hat, wouldn't you, for that? But no, went for the little cap that they gave out there. Really nice to see the maintenance shed, huge in there as well, lots of space, and we certainly got plenty of time to take loads of photos and videos.
The great thing that engineers absolutely love having this set up, because I mean you saw the difference on something like the Grand National where there isn't the space and so on that they've got in here. So this is a really well lit, nice and warm, and they can carry out work while the ride is just carrying on just through that wall there, and you would never really know that that's the case. The restraints on it are quite interesting in that they're quite a minimal style, in that they hold you here, which means you've got your arms free. So obviously they're very different to on the Infusion, which you all obviously know and love. They also have a double redundancy built into, so all our rides are safe, but we wouldn't operate them if they weren't. But this is particularly extra safe because you've got like a triple redundancy on it. So there's a little hydraulic thing in the back of here. There's two of them, and they double between the two, with the other one acting as the redundancy during each time that the ride goes round. So you've got that double security. And then after the first year of operation, we also added a seatbelt to the ride, and I said that, you know, we have good relationships with other parks and so on, and one of the reasons that we did that is because Leesburg did it to their Helix ride and recommended it to us, and so that's why. From an operational point of view, it does slow things down a little bit, but again, in terms of for your regular guest, for guest safety and so on, it adds that extra feeling of security and so on. So really nice, safe ride. And then you can also see we have our Enzo train. This is the Enzo train because we took the 4 back seats off the base, sent the base back to Mac, and then they had been doing some testing of this system on their Blue Fire ride, and then us and a park called Dream World in Australia are the only other 2 places where you could do this. And this I guess is their precursor to some of their more recent spinning coasters and so on. But the point being that what's cool about it is that it is a free spin. So it's like a walk-to car. So if you get a smaller person and a heavier person, then you will spin more. So my tip, if you ever ride Enzo, is to ride it by yourself, because that's a pretty good guaranteed way of getting a really good spin on it. And then what's really cool is that then when it comes back into the station, it should park in the correct position for you in order to get on and off as well. Okay.
It was great getting a close-up look at the trains, and it was ideal because one was parked in the station and then the other 2 were in the maintenance bay. Andy was saying how one of them is going to be going shortly for its winter maintenance, but it was nice timing that we managed to see both of them there in the maintenance bay. Not only did we get to walk around the top and get loads of photos, we also got to go directly underneath where I got some brilliant shots looking at all like the wheel compounds, the bogies, the overall design of the trains, right at the front with the headlights, the Zero car itself. Really fascinating how they managed to fit the maintenance bay in there and the transfer track. Because obviously if you've seen it before, the whole transfer track in the station moves with the baggage hold as well, the automated baggage hold. It all kind of moves to the side and across, which is really fascinating. So no, it was brilliant to just see that, getting to walk underneath, and yeah, just take it all in really. So after that, we then made our way back to Loki's next to Launchpad and Valhalla after an absolutely brilliant behind the scenes tour. Now firstly, I just want to say a huge thank you to all of the staff. They did an amazing job, especially Andy and the team. They were great, like all the questions that they answered. Along with that, Adam from Stageworks was there, who gave us some information. He's one of the creative guys they've got here at Pleasure Beach, information about Stageworks and everything. That was brilliant. So overall, 10 out of 10, another brilliant tour, and for £55 it was great. I mean, you got to think the Valhalla one was very expensive at the price. It was worth the cost, especially with me being a huge Valhalla fan, but still this one really was an absolute bargain compared to that, and it was brilliant, an absolutely awesome experience that I would certainly recommend. Now along with that, I also had a bit of a tip off while we were on the tour. They said go and have a look on the car park and see what you can see. So there we go. If you look over there right in the distance, and we're not looking at the trains there for Big Dipper, look at that just behind what's in the blue there. I've got a few close-up photos from when we came out the tour. That's the first parts of a Victus to actually arrive here at Pleasure Beach which is very exciting. I thought, oh, you know, what's under there, what's wrapped up? There's 4 big crates, I think, so it looks to me like it could be the central piece, possibly like the motor that's under there. It's hard to tell, but yeah, something has arrived for Invictus over there, which is very exciting. So then we just had time to chill in Loki's, have a bit of a chat with the representatives from Pleasure Beach, and also as well with all the other people on the tour. That was great. Everybody had a really good time. We had lunch included as well, which was a sandwich of our choice from a few different selections that they had. Pack of crisps, Walkers as well, which is very nice. And then along with that, we got a drink included, a soft drink or a hot drink, which was great. They also gave out a couple of souvenirs. One of those was this wonderful postcard here, with pictures of some of the rides on. Obviously Revolution's on there because that would normally be part of the tour where they'd take you up on there, but we did Infusion today instead. That was great because you can't just buy like an Infusion lift hill walk or anything either. They don't offer that, so it was good to do that. And of course pictures of the other rides that we got to see. And they also gave us this as well, which is nice. We got to pick one of 2 things that they had in a little tray for us, and yeah, this is from the wooden roller coaster that they've got here at the park, used on all of the different woodies. And that then brought us to the end of the experience, a full 3-hour in-depth behind the scenes tour of Pleasure Beach, and it was brilliant from start to finish. Big thank you to all the staff, they were absolutely brilliant. £55 for that tour was really good value. I know they've got quite a few coming up over winter, there's still spaces available as well. So yeah, get yourself booked on. I think it's well worth the cost for what you're getting for a full 3-hour tour is great. It can vary every time, so bear that in mind. If you are coming on, it doesn't mean you're going to get the exact same experience that I did today, but the team here at Pleasure Beach will easily like take you to another ride or give you something else exclusive. It's one of them, they're not kind of, you know, set in stone that this is what they have to do. It can vary each time and they can make changes. It's like today the decision was made to swap out Revolution for Infusion. I think that was probably a better replacement, plus I'd already done Revolution behind the scenes a few years ago, so that worked out even better. But it can vary, you know, another time you might come and they'll swap something else out and you might get a walk around another dark ride or go to another coaster maintenance shed. I think that kind of adds to it as well, a bit of the mystery when you arrive, like, oh, what are you going to get, what are you going to get to see? But no, I really enjoyed it. Thanks to all the staff for doing a brilliant job, as always. Really informative, answering all the questions, taking photos for us. Nothing was too much trouble. It felt very casual, very relaxed. It was just a really good time. Had some great tours now here at Pleasure Beach. I think out of all the parks out there that I go to, Pleasure Beach do the best tours, and yeah, lots of different prices. Like this one, you know, much cheaper than the Valhalla one, and even like the Walk the Woody and Walk the Big One and stuff that they do. It's a lot more affordable for a lot more people. I think it's nice how they have got them different options. You know, they've got all sorts of different tours, all sorts of different things available, and yeah, I thought that was absolutely brilliant once again. It's not very often you get to go behind the scenes of a historic park like Pleasure Beach, so it was fantastic. And just thanks to Pleasure Beach for holding these, because there's not many parks out there that do full backstage tours and things. So yeah, I really do appreciate it. Gives you a new appreciation for the amount of work that goes into keeping these rides running, and especially at a historic park like Pleasure Beach. I tell you what's not going to be historic though, because it's brand new. It's Invictus. It's starting to arrive, and I cannot wait for it. Fingers crossed we'll be back down here as soon as they start erecting the main structure itself. I want to be down here for that if we can. We've got quite a lot of travel plans coming up, but we have got one more visit to Pleasure Beach before the end of the season. We're not here the final weekend, we're about at Europa Park, but we will be here just before that, so fingers crossed we'll get to see more of Invictus. They are actually running an event for Invictus, but we are away for that, as we may have done that, but saying that, you do get to see a lot of it from outside the park as well. But anyone that's coming to that, I'm sure you'll have a great time. But thanks for joining us here on Theme Park Worldwide, and that leaves me with one final thing to say: get out there and keep on riding. See you in the next video.